This is what football federations from 7 different countries were saying before this tournament even reached its halfway point, that something was broken, that the rules were being applied differently depending on who was playing, that filing a formal complaint with FIFA was the only language left available to them because every other channel had been exhausted, ignored, or met with silence. 7 nations, 7 separate documented grievances, one governing body that has responded to almost none of them in any meaningful public way. And the thing that should stop you in your tracks is this. These aren't small federations without resources or influence. They include European giants, African powerhouses, and South American nations with decades of World Cup history between them. When 7 countries turn on the institution running the biggest sporting event on the planet, the question isn't whether something is wrong. The question is how deep it goes. So what's actually happening here? Let's go through every single nation, every single grievance, and every single non-response, because by the time we reach the 7th one, a pattern will be visible that no single story told alone could have built. Algeria were first. Group stage, the opening match of Argentina's campaign. A 30-year-old challenge from Messi on Algeria captain Issa Mandi in the 30th minute, studs up, catching the defender on the Achilles. The referee on the field didn't whistle. VAR didn't review it. Multiple pundits watching in real time called it a red card. Former Manchester City defender Nedu Monuaho said it was 100% a red card in his view. Former Venezuelan forward Alejandro Moreno said the same. Algeria filed an official complaint with FIFA. FIFA ruled that no rules had been broken and took no action. Argentina won 3-0 and advanced. And here's a human truth underneath that result. Mandi, Algeria's captain, finished the match and played no further part in any of his country's remaining games. The leg that took Messi studs on the Achilles didn't carry him through the tournament. That was complaint number 1. Belgium were second, and their case produced the single most explosive institutional response of any nation in this tournament. When Fuller and Balogun receives a straight red card against Bosnia and Herzegovina, every federation in the competition was told the same thing they'd been told before the tournament began. Automatic 1-match suspension. Non-negotiable. The rule that applies to everyone equally. And then, less than 96 hours later, that suspension was gone. Balogun was cleared to play against Belgium in the round of 32. Belgium found out through media reports, not from FIFA, not through official communication, through journalists. The Royal Belgian Football Association filed its own complaint. It documented that when it sent a letter to FIFA requesting an explanation of the process, FIFA responded by saying Belgium's letter constituted an appeal and that they only had a few hours to complete it. No copy of the decision was provided, no reasoning was given, just a deadline. UEFA described the reversal as crossing a red line. Belgium played the match, lost 4-1, and went home knowing they'd face an opponent who, by the tournament's own rules, should not have been on the pitch. That was complaint number 2. And for the first time in this tournament, the pattern had 2 data points. Ecuador were third. Their grievance didn't involve officiating. It involved something more basic. The right to prepare for a World Cup knockout match without being harassed in your hotel the night before. Mexico supporters disrupted Ecuador's team accommodation with car horns and fireworks during the evening before their round of 32 fixture in Mexico City. The Ecuadorian Football Federation submitted a formal complaint with FIFA, noting, in their words, that such conduct stands in stark contrast to the principles of fair play, equity, and respect that underpin the FIFA World Cup. Ecuador lost that match, 2-1. Whether their sleep-disrupted preparation contributed to that result is impossible to quantify, and it would be dishonest to claim certainty about the connection. But the complaint is documented, and FIFA's response to it, like so many others, was silence. That was complaint number 3. Ghana were fourth, and their case sits slightly differently from the others, because it was resolved, just not in Ghana's favor. Thomas Partey, Ghana's midfielder who plays for Arsenal in the Premier League, was denied entry into Canada for Ghana's second group stage match due to outstanding charges in the UK. The Ghanaian government protested Canada's denial of the visa while saying there was a lack of judicial decisions regarding the charges. A Canadian federal judge rejected Partey's emergency appeal, ruling that there were insufficient grounds to overturn the immigration authority's decision. Ghana were denied the use of one of their most experienced players for a World Cup group stage match because of an administrative and legal process that ran on a different timetable from the football tournament. They complained. The system ruled. The player missed the match. That was complaint number 4. 4 nations, 4 documented grievances, one common thread connecting them all: a governing body that was not communicating proactively with the federations it was supposed to serve. Iran were 5th. Their situation is the most underreported of the 7, and understanding it requires knowing what happened before and after their matches, rather than inside them. Iran's travel schedule throughout this tournament has been reported as significantly more restrictive than that of other competing nations. Their coaching staff documented preparation time significantly shorter than what most teams at this level consider the minimum standard for a knockout match. Head coach Amir Galanio addressed this directly before the Belgium match in the group stage, explaining that the scheduling constraints made proper preparation extremely difficult. And behind all of that, earlier in the tournament, concerns were raised by the Iranian Federation about the atmosphere inside stadiums during their matches, where fan groups displayed flags and chanted slogans associated with opposition to the Iranian government. Iran raised these concerns with FIFA. FIFA's resolution was to increase security ahead of subsequent matches. That was complaint number 5. Switzerland were 6. And their case produced the moment that crystallized everything this tournament has been building toward for 5 weeks: the quarterfinal against Argentina in Kansas City. Breel Embolo shown a second yellow card through a VAR mistaken identity review for simulation in the 72nd minute, leaving Switzerland with 10 men for the remainder of the match. Coach Murat Yakin said publicly that he hadn't known the rule before and that it was a very harmful situation. Remo Freuler said it was a disaster. The Swiss Federation documented their objections. And here is the human sentence that lives underneath that result. Embolo left the pitch in tears while his teammates were on the edge of eliminating the defending world champions at 11 against 11. That was complaint number 6. Egypt were 7th. And Egypt's case is the one that broke everything open, because it happened at the loudest moment and the most watched match and the most scrutinized fixture of this entire tournament to that point. 2-0 up against the defending world champions, a goal disallowed for a foul committed at the opposite end of the pitch approximately 20 seconds before the ball entered the net. A penalty claim on Mohamed Salah waved away without VAR review in the build-up to Argentina's winning goal in the 93rd minute. Egypt coach Hossam Hassan making FIFA's own official anti-racism gesture on the touchline to flag his concern, only to receive a yellow card from the referee for persisting with his protest. The Egyptian Football Association filing a formal complaint, saying the refereeing decisions made the match impossible to compete. And President Hani Abu Rida demanding the removal of the entire officiating crew from the remainder of the tournament. That was complaint number 7. 7 nations, and FIFA's official public response to the cumulative weight of all 7 was a statement from refereeing chief Pierluigi Collina saying that nobody can question the integrity of the FIFA World Cup match officials. Now, here is the strongest possible case for the other side, because it deserves to be made honestly before we examine it. FIFA runs the most complex sporting event in the history of organized sport. 104 matches across 3 countries and 16 cities over 5 weeks, with referees drawn from dozens of different footballing cultures and officiating traditions, making split-second decisions under the most intense pressure any official in football ever faces. Mistakes will happen. Inconsistencies will emerge. Rules written in committee rooms and tested in training sessions will produce outcomes in real match conditions that nobody anticipated. The 7 complaints documented above cover a range of genuinely different situations. Algeria's complaint about the Messi challenge was assessed by FIFA and found insufficient for action, a conclusion several independent refereeing experts supported. Ecuador's complaint was about crowd behavior, not officiating. Ghana's situation involved a legal process operating independently of FIFA's authority. Iran's scheduling concerns involved logistical complexities across 3 host nations that were unprecedented in tournament history. Some of these situations have straightforward explanations that don't require a pattern to explain them. That is the strongest case for the other side. Here is why it doesn't close the argument. Because what matters isn't whether each individual incident has a technical explanation. What matters is the cumulative experience of 7 federations who participated in this tournament and felt sufficiently aggrieved through sufficiently documented processes to file formal complaints with the governing body. The formal complaint is not the first step in these situations. It is the last one. It is what a federation does when every other channel has been tried and found insufficient. When you have 7 of them in one tournament from nations spanning 4 continents, you don't explain the pattern away by explaining the incidents individually. 7 nations complained because FIFA was not communicating. FIFA was not responding to requests for information in the timeframes that allowed federations to make informed decisions about their own situations. FIFA was applying rules that appeared consistent in their text, but inconsistent in their enforcement. And FIFA's public response to that accumulated frustration was a statement warning that questioning integrity provokes threats, which placed the burden of the situation on the federations raising legitimate questions rather than on the institution that was failing to answer them. FIFA's very first World Cup had barely begun before it ran into hot water. A Brazilian referee blew for full time 6 minutes early in a group game in 1930, just as a French winger broke clear on goal. That was 96 years ago. Algeria filed a formal complaint after a match in 1982 that became known as the disgrace of Gijón. The mistaken identity rule that ended Switzerland's quarter-final campaign in 2026 was the same rule that caught Graham Poll in 2006 when he accidentally booked Josip Simunic of Croatia twice without sending him off, a mistake so embarrassing it effectively ended Poll's international career. FIFA has been navigating formal complaints, controversial decisions, and institutional credibility challenges since the tournament began. The difference in 2026 is scale. 7 complaints in one edition is not a record that any governing body should be comfortable with. 7 complaints is a statement, not from social media accounts or anonymous online voices, from football federations. Institutional actors with legal standing, documented grievances, and the formal right to demand responses that this tournament has largely denied them. The shareable truth buried in all of this is not complicated. 7 nations turned on FIFA because FIFA gave them no other language. Complaints exist because communication failed first. And here's the thing that the semi-finals haven't resolved. 5 of the 7 nations who complained are now watching this tournament from home. Algeria, Belgium, Ecuador, Egypt, and Switzerland are eliminated. Ghana and Iran finished their campaigns in the group stage. Not one of the 7 nations who filed formal complaints made the Final Four. Whether that is coincidence, quality difference, or something else entirely is a question this tournament has not equipped us to answer with certainty. But it is a question that will be asked, in detail, by people with more authority than football fans and YouTube channels, when the trophy is lifted and the analysis begins.